Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Vajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Vajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Pad Paramahansa, Bhagavatsaptaha, Ashtottara Sri Srimad. His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa, Bhagavatsaptaha, Ashtottara Sri Srimad. His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Grantharaj srimadbhagavatam Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. All right, give me about 15 seconds here to find this verse, if I can find it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Narayanam namaskritya Narang chaiva narottamam Devim sadasvatim vyasam Tato jayamudirihi. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the Goddess of Learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta Praresha Bodreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavad-yuttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 22nd day of May 2019 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We're in Canto 4, the creation of the fourth order. Chapter 12, Dhruva Maharaj goes back to Godhead. Text number 37. Shanta samadrishak shuddha sarvabhutanuranjana yantyanjasa chutapadam achyuta priyabandava. Shanta samadrishak shuddha sarvabhutanuranjana yantyanjasa chutapadam. Try it again. Yantyanjasa chutapadam achyuta priyabandava. Shanta samadrishak shuddha sarvabhutanuranjana yantyanjasa chutapadam achyuta priyabandava. Shanta samadrishak shuddha sarvabhutanuranjana yantyanjasa chutapadam achyuta priyabandava. Shanta samadrishak shuddha sarvabhutanuranjana yantyanjasa chutapadam achyuta priyabandava. Damodar Kumar Das. Shanta samadrishak shuddha sarvabhutanuranjana yantyanjasa chutapadam achyuta priyabandava. Shanta samadrishak shuddha sarvabhutanuranjana yantyanjasa chutapadam achyuta priyabandava. Shanta samadrisha shuddha sarvabhutanuranjana yantyanjasa chutapadam achyuta priyabandava. Shanta, peaceful. Samadrishaha, equipoised. Shuddha, cleansed, purified. Sarva, all. Bhuta, living entities. Anuranjana, pleasing. Yanti, go. Anjasa, easily. Achyuta, of the Lord. Padam, to the abode. Achyuta priya, with devotees of the Lord. Bandhava, friends. Translation: persons who are peaceful, equipoised, cleansed, and purified, and who know the art of pleasing all other living entities, keep friendship only with devotees of the Lord. They alone can very easily achieve the perfection of going back home, back to Godhead. Please repeat. Persons who are peaceful, equipoised, cleansed, and purified, and who know the art of pleasing all other living entities, keep friendship only with devotees of the Lord. They alone can very easily achieve the perfection of going back home, back to Godhead. Purport: the description of this verse fully indicates that only devotees are eligible to enter into the kingdom of Godhead. The first point stated is that devotees are peaceful, for they have no demands for their personal sense gratification. They are simply dedicated to the service of the Lord. Karmis cannot be peaceful because they have immense demands for sense gratification. As for jnanis, they cannot be peaceful because they are too busy trying to attain liberation or merge into the existence of the Supreme. Similarly, yogis are also restless to get mystic power. But a devotee is peaceful because he is fully surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thinks of himself as completely helpless. Just as a child feels complete peace in depending on the parent, so a devotee is completely peaceful, for he depends on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A devotee is equipoised. He sees everyone on the same transcendental platform. A devotee knows that although a conditioned soul has a particular type of body according to his past fruitive activities, factually everyone is part of the Supreme Lord. A devotee sees all living entities with spiritual vision and does not discriminate on the platform of the bodily concept of life. Such qualities develop only in the association of devotees. Without the association of devotees, one cannot advance in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, we have established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Factually, whoever lives in this society automatically develops Krishna consciousness. Devotees are dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is only dear to the devotees. On this platform only can one make progress in Krishna consciousness. Persons in Krishna consciousness, or devotees of the Lord, can please everyone, as is evident in the Krishna consciousness movement. We invite everyone without discrimination. We request everyone to sit down and chant the Hare Krishna mantra and take as much prasadam as we can supply. And thus everyone is pleased with us. This is the qualification. Sarva bhutana ranjanaha. As for purification, no one can be more pure than devotees. Anyone who once utters the name of Vishnu immediately becomes purified, inside and outside. Yaksmarit punarikaksham. Since the devotee constantly chants the Hare Krishna mantra, no contamination of the material world can touch him. He is therefore actually purified. Muchi hanya, or muchi hoy, suchi hoy, yadi Krishna bhaje. It is said that even a cobbler, or a person born in the family of a cobbler, can be elevated to the position of a Brahman, Shuchi, if he takes to Krishna consciousness. Any person who is purely Krishna conscious and who engages in chanting the Hare Krishna mantra is the purest in the whole universe. Om jnana timarandasya jnanandjana shalakya chakshu unmidatam mena tasmai shri gurave namah. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, this is coming to the conclusion here of the description of Dhruva Maharaj and how he's going back to Godhead. In the previous verse, we heard one very important qualification for those who want to go back to Godhead, and that is that this Vaikuntha Loka can be reached only by those cannot be reached by those who are not merciful to other living entities. Only those who are constantly engaged in welfare activities for other living entities can reach the Vaikuntha planets. And in this purport, which I won't read word for word, Prabhupada makes the point that only devotees can actually be doing welfare activity for everyone else in the world 24 hours a day. The idea of doing charity is a natural thing that comes in the heart of someone who's a little bit purified. We just had this instance of some billionaire offering to pay off the student loans for a whole class of students who just graduated from this black-bodied devotee college, person college. You know, and naturally he's offering the commencement speech, and then he says, I'm going to pay off all your student loans. Everyone went into ecstasy. Who was in that class? The juniors are saying, oh, what about me? And those who just graduated and are carrying the burden of the desert, what about me? But the idea is there that this guy was a billionaire. He's a multi-billionaire, $5 billion. And so he got up there and offered it. And he felt good about it. And they felt good about it. So this is a natural tendency in someone who is a little bit affected by the mode of goodness, which means that part of that being mode of goodness is that you are more sensitive to others. You have more empathy. You're more in tune. You're not just focused on your own pleasure, which is mode of passion, or getting revenge, which is mode of ignorance. But you're focused on the commonality and what we have in common with other human beings and even living entities. So, but what does that mean? It's relative. In other words, first of all, the education itself is not bringing them any closer back to Godhead. They're just getting more entangled in the material world. And the charity is very limited. It's limited in time, limited in place, limited in candidate, what he's giving. So the devotee, a pure devotee, those who are advanced in devotional service, they always recognize their common kinship with every living entity. This is like practically lesson 1 in Bhagavad Gita. Every one of us is a spirit soul, including those in lower forms of life, what to speak of the human beings. And that the bodily concept of life is a total illusion. And it is, in fact, it is the source of your bondage to this material world. Your conception of yourself as the body, and you're trying to increase the pleasures of the body through sense gratification. Don't forget that the mind is also part of the body. All this subtle sense gratification is just as binding as gross sense gratification. So that inevitably leads to the class consciousness, race consciousness. What is that? Boma ijyadi. What does that phrase mean? Boma ijyadi. You know the verse? Ajasyatma buddhi kunabeti. Yeah, but what does Boma ijyadi mean? Yeah, it's nationalism. It's very, very prominent in the world. It's a cause of so much strife, so much wars going on, that people are identifying with this particular piece of land. We're Iranians, we're Iraqis, and then of course there's the religious thing which adds on to it. But it's and then there's the race business. I mean, what is America based on? Where we're sitting right here. What are the two main activities that really have found, the foundation of this land we're sitting on, this United States? Genocide and slavery. People tend to forget there were millions and millions, sometimes as many as 60 million Native Americans in here. They all had to be cleared out. And we're going to, we're Europeans were going to take over. Andrew Jackson is on a $20 bill. The guy was a mass murderer. Women, children, just kill them. They're not even human beings. Exactly the opposite of what we're reading here. At the bottom of the scale, you have this in chapter 16 of the Bhagavad Gita. If you become so focused on your own aggrandizement and those of your immediate family and those of your race and your class and all this distinction, and then you comes to a point, and we've seen it in recent history with the Nazis, and it's happening right now with all of this racism coming from the top. Is that you don't even see the others as human beings, and children and women are getting starved and bombed for years on end in Yemen, and Americans, they're responsible, paying the taxes, buying the weapons, and it doesn't faze them. In my day, in the 60s, I was extremely disturbed to see the pictures and the movies and the videos of what was going on in Vietnam by American hand, And I had enough sensitivity to demonstrate against it and drop out of school and expect to go to jail for turning in my draft card, all those things, Now that's just a material reflection of what the devotee feels. Devotee is paradukha dukhi. This is describing Raghunath Das Goswami, I believe, or maybe Raghunath describing Sanatana Goswami, which is that he constantly feels bliss because he's with Krishna. Prahlad Maharaj says, the famous verse, Naibod Vijay, I'm not disturbed at all, my Lord. He's speaking to Lord Nrsingadev. Padadodatchaya Vaitaranyas, because you're situated across the river of Vaitarani. You're in the spiritual world. And I'm with you. My consciousness is always with you, even though my body may be sitting here in the material world. And any time, Todviryagayana Mahamrata Magna Chitta, I can chant your glories and immerse my mind in an ocean of nectar. So how can there be any unhappiness? He didn't say it, but he said, I've just been boiled in oil. They tried to crush me with elephant's poison. Do you think he was like in absolute terror at that time? No, he was in samadhi and still with Krishna, and wasn't disturbed. This is an incredible mystic power, but that's what he did. Same thing with Haridas Thakur. So, but he says, I am lamenting for those poor souls who don't have any vision of you, who are completely in ignorance and who are suffering so much from trying to enjoy illusory happiness, sense gratification. So then what's the conclusion? He's saying, I'm not going to, for my own spiritual benefit, give up the cities, go into the seclusion in the Himalayas or somewhere, some cave, try to get liberation. I'm going to stay here in the cities and try to give Krishna consciousness, Nrsinga consciousness to anyone I can meet. So that awareness, was present exactly in Srila Prabhupada. That is the mood of the preacher. That's the mood of this movement. Is that practice your own Krishna consciousness, chanting and dancing, bhajan, worship the deity, and become enlivened, and come to the point of being able to carry that bliss with you anywhere at any time, just by thinking of Krishna. What is that song to the Goswamis? Taktva Turnamashesha Mandalapati Shrening. They gave up all wealth, all influence, Siddhat Tuchavad as insignificant straw in the street, just as Dhruva came to that conclusion. His big kingdom was like broken glass compared to the darshan of the Lord, compared to Krishna consciousness. And so they gave it all up, and they became the protectors and the wealth workers for all of the wretched souls, those who have no Krishna consciousness. That's what Bhuva Dina Ganesha Karuniya, out of deep compassion. Their hearts were softened. When they were working on the right and left hand of the king, Hussein, they weren't in that position. They were still great devotees, but they were compromised. So they said, to heck with that. We meet Lord Chaitanya, he said, go to Vrindavan, we're giving it all up, and they did, and became as renounced as possibly could be. Kopina Kantashrito, just taking a little kopin and, rejected cloth, not even having a home to live on, eating one little handful of grain once a day, maybe, But what was their consciousness? What was their state of mind? Gopi Bhavara Samatabdalahi Kalola Magno Muhur. They were experiencing the highest levels of bliss in Krishna consciousness in the mood of the gopis. It's an ocean of nectar. They're diving and drinking it constantly, 24 hours a day. And so what did they do with that? They didn't just wander around Vrindavan and, they did that, but they also wrote books. They built temples. This is for people, it's for us. The books we study are the books of the Goswamis. Even though it's the Bhagavatam and even though it's the Bhagavad Gita, the vast mass of those books are the commentaries that are based on the writings of the Goswamis. So we are indebted. We are getting the mercy of Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and their followers, Baladev, Vidyabhushan. It's all coming from them. So they're perfectly exemplifying this verse, Shanta. Now Prabhupada makes the word peaceful. This is the first paragraph is all about, it's a commentary on a verse by Lord Chaitanya that we should know. Krishna Bhakti Nishkama Ataheva Shanta Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakali Ashanta. So this peace, our ultimate goal is not peace, but peace is an important measure of our state of consciousness. In other words, it's one of the side benefits of practicing bhakti yoga, is to become peaceful in heart. So here's the definition. This is Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Atta Eva Shanta. This word Atta Eva is very important. It means therefore. So what's the cause? It says Krishna Bhaktas, pure devotees, are actually peaceful because they have no material desire. This is right out of the Bhagavad Gita. Vihaya kaman niksavan pumam chadati nikspraha nema modalahankara sashanda pari. Sashantim adigachati. One who has given up all material desire, vihaya kaman yaksarvan, and lives free from such desires, doesn't have a sense of proprietorship, which is part of what it means to always be self-centered and wanting to enjoy. Nirmamo, nadahankara, and free of false ego, the bodily concept of life. Sashanti manigat, such a person attains peace. So this is echoed by Lord Chaitanya. The Krishna Bhakta has no kama, no material desire. All of his desires are geared toward pleasing Krishna. And because Krishna's most ardent desire is that everyone find out about him and chant Hare Krishna, that's the practical activity of a pure devotee. Prabhupada worked so hard just to start the movement, just to gather some people so they would be receptive. I'm just reading now where, this Lilamrita is fantastic. He finally got 26 Second Avenue and he's starting to get an actual audience who was interested. It was obviously Krishna's arrangement that he come to that place at that exact time. Even the year earlier, when he was uptown, that Lower East Side had not developed to the point where there was a high concentration of people who had dropping acid, smoking dope, and trying to find God, in their own way. And of course, mass of them failed and damaged themselves. But within that group, there were some who were intelligent. They were college students even, and he was able to plant the seed in the hearts of those who could actually help him to start the movement. All of it, every moment, every day, for the benefit of others. Otherwise, his godbrothers didn't do it. He wrote to them. They just settled back into their own little mats and temples, and they broke up. Bhaktisiddhanta's vast preaching machine. He was infused with that mercy, and he gave it to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada is giving to us the same mood of being enamored of Krishna consciousness and experiencing so much benefit from it that you can't help but want to give it to others. So it's peaceful. Now, Bhukti, Mukti, Siddhi, Kami, there's like 4 groups of people. Everyone fits into one of these groups. There's the devotees, very rare. Then there's the Bhukti Kamis, vast majority of people. Those who are after gross and subtle sense gratification. That's the Bhukti Kamis. You can see the word Kami comes in they're lust, material desire. Mukti Kamis, which are a much smaller group, but they realize that trying to enjoy this world just brings you back, for another term of suffering, birth, old age, disease, and death. We also understand that. But they're averse to serving the lotus feet of the Lord. They're afraid of having a body and a form and senses. They think, well, that means it's Maya. They're throwing out the baby with the bathwater. So the concept of a spiritual form to serve and engage in loving pastime with the supreme personality of Godhead, that they can't accept. So that's the impersonalists, the mukti kami. Their main goal is mukti. That's a material desire. Prabhupada explains in one lecture I just heard how, we think this mukti, well, this is an Indian thing with mukti. But actually everybody's into it. Every time someone tries to ward off some of the suffering in this world, that is an impetus toward liberation. Liberation toward freedom from suffering. That's what liberation means. So how much we're all sitting here now, still a little cold with our coats, because we want mukti. Mukti from the cold. Liberation from the cold, we want to be comfortable. The whole world is after that. So that's nothing spiritual. So if someone is simply after that, has no tinge of bhakti, doesn't understand the philosophy, he can't be peaceful. Because you're never going to have enough mukti. And if you somehow, a very rare few out of billions, can rise up to the Brahman platform and really experience the freedom from the modes of nature, which is what it means, you can experience a little mukti for a while. But it's unnatural, and so you eventually fall down again. This verse. So then there's the Siddhi Kamis, the yogis. This is the 4th category. And these yogis, they want mukti, but they also are enamored of the process of Hatha Yoga, Raja Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga. And along the way, they attain all these siddhis. That could often be their motive for practicing yoga. Who wouldn't want to be able to do astral travel, and be able to control others, walk on water, become light, all that stuff. Very enamoring. If you get those, you can see how that can distract you from your bhakti process. Therefore, pure devotees have some of these powers, but they don't show them unless they can use them for devotional service. So, bhukti, mukti, siddhi, kami, sakaliya shanti, they're all unpeaceful. They all lack peace, because they all want something for themselves, and it can never be enough. It can never be, and even if you get the siddhis, then what about this other yogi? He has more siddhis than me. Think of Durvasa Muni. He was about as unpeaceful as you could be. You know what his name means? I think we went through this. I don't think you learned. Durvasa. I always thought it meant his clothes are far away, meaning that he goes around naked. But that's not what it means. It means impossible to live with. Can't live with him. And you can see, his engagement with Ambarish, and his whole interaction with the Pandavas in the forest, He's not peaceful. Why should Ambarish, this king, he's a king, I'm a Brahmin, I'm a great yogi. He's getting all this honor because what? He's chanting Hare Krishna? I'll show him. That's not the mode of goodness, that's the mode of passion and ignorance. So, there appears now equipoise. Prabhupada uses this word equipoise, and it's interesting because samadrisha is there. Usually samadrisha is said to be equal vision, So it's interesting that it has it as equipoise, and there's a relationship. You can be equipoised and peaceful when you see everyone equally. If you see, oh, here comes my enemy, how can you be peaceful? But if you see not just even human beings, but all living beings equally, this is the vision of a pandit. How's that? Vidya abhiniya sampanne brahmane gabihastani shuni chaiva shabhakati pandita samadarshana. Doesn't it say samadarshana? Yeah, that's the same word, samadarshana. Samadrisha, samadarshana. So, one who sees a learned and peaceful Brahman, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater, the same is said to be a pandit. Now, it doesn't mean that he interacts with them equally, but he sees the essential oneness because everyone is part and parcel of Krishna. And therefore, the cat, we had a cat out here for years. Remember, I think you remember, Balaram. What do we call him? They gave him a name, Narada Muni. I said, you can't call a cat Narada. What was it? No. But he was very enamored of kheer. We put some kheer on a little leaf. It's milk after all, it's sweet milk, and they would come. And he got kind of fat after a while from all that kheer. But he would come back, it was years, So, here's a cat. He could, get a little Krishna consciousness, become a human being in the next life, get some Mahaprasadam, fine, You don't just shoo away the cat, So, what to speak of seeing human beings? So this is part of the qualification for going to Vaikuntha. Shuddha, purified. Krishna is the purest of the pure. Those who associate with Krishna get purified. Just like you go out in the sun, you get affected. So, purified. Sarva bhuta and please everybody. Prabhupada gives the example. We invite everyone to come, sit down, chant Hare Krishna, and take prasadam. And take prasadam when he finally trained everybody how to cook, and they were cooking these incredible feasts. It's very attractive. You come once to the Sunday feast, and if it's like a revelatory experience, of cuisine, and it's free in those days, you'll probably come back for the prasadam. And along with the prasadam, you get the holy name, and you get a friendly, you make friends with devotees. This is how the movement grows. So that's sarva bhuta anuranjana. So this is another list here of the qualification. Those who easily go to achyuta. And then the last one, achyuta priya bandhava, which is probably the most important. It's associating and making friends with the devotees. Association, when you think about it, the whole process is one of association. Is choosing who you associate, the sounds you associate with, the sights, the books, the persons you associate with. Makes all the difference in your consciousness. And so devotees are one of the main points, as Prabhupada makes here. We've started this society for Krishna consciousness so devotees can come and associate with each other and become purified. The greatest gift Prabhupada gave when he came was himself, his own association. I'm reading about these incredible, he's uptown. He was involved with this yoga studio, Dr. Mishra's, it was my personalism. Dr. Mishra, after Prabhupada was speaking, he said, you can't speak anymore, because he was blasting the Mayavadis and talking about bhakti. But he could give kirtan, he gave kirtan. So finally, it was frustrating, he couldn't preach, he would meet people individually and talk to them. So he had one fellow, what was his name? Robert Nelson, I think it was, who met Prabhupada at the Ananda Ashram or one of the studio and was attracted, and he became friends with him. Prabhupada, at one point, he was living in an office. It wasn't attached to the studio. This little office was like a big rail car. It was very thin. He's holding classes there. You'd sit about 4 feet from Prabhupada. And so, Prabhupada was just giving himself, and he made friends with this Robert Nelson. And Robert Nelson tried to help him, but he was kind of a slow. You come a slow. He really couldn't help him much. But he had the greatest good fortune of meeting Prabhupada and developing affection for Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was giving him as much as he could. So the whole idea is that sadhu sangha sarva shastra koi lava matta sadhu sange sarva siddhi hoy. That to associate with a sadhu, even for a moment, a genuine sadhu, can bring all perfection. Not so much in and of itself, but because it leads you on to more association. If you're receptive to that, then there's a certain aspect of that, the knowledge, the friendship, who the person is, will attract you to come back and hear again and become influenced. This is how the world works, is that, through association. The parents are the main associations with the kid. If they're loving and they're supportive and they do the proper thing, the kid grows up, properly, and then widens the association. There's the other 3-year-olds you're playing with, and then the school. It's a big thing. In kindergarten, the whole idea is that you have to learn how to associate with others. But because it's the blind leading the blind, nobody is really making any progress back to Godhead. They're just handing off their contaminations, and everybody stays illusion. So the devotees are eager to give the non-devotees their own association, not to associate with them, but to chant Hare Krishna, give them a book, which is a great association. You're giving Prabhupada Krishna. You associate with Krishna by reading Bhagavad Gita. What could be more auspicious? That's why Prabhu was so eager for book distribution. And by that association, when we understand this, we make an effort to choose our association. Choose who we're going to associate with, so that we can stay pure. And that eventually we become strong enough so we can also give others association. This is how the movement grows. So that's what this is all about. Achyuta priya bandhava. Now there's one verse that I looked up that I wanted to mention, because Prabhupada talks about 24 hours a day. Well, how can you do something 24 hours a day? I mean, I'm eating, I'm sleeping, But if the consciousness is purified enough, whenever you have the opportunity, you're glorifying the Lord and trying to glorify, find an audience for that. Now, so much of Prabhupada's life, before he came to America, and even after he came to America, was engaged in typing his books. And eventually he got the dictaphone. He could produce the books faster. It took him, 4 years to come out with the first 3 books, which were invaluable. They provided his ammunition and encouragement, the first Canto books he had. But then when he was able to start the society, and he had this rudimentary press, he could increase the volume. He could go faster. He could just concentrate on speaking the purports, and then he had people type it out and edit it, produce it for him. So things speeded up. But whether he was alone in Vrindavan and putting out his BTG, or finally getting those books published, he was eating, sleeping, and working for glorification of Krishna, so others could be purified. He's doing welfare work 24 hours a day and dreaming about it, and what else are you going to dream about? So that's a very high position to take, but that's assures you a very easy passage back to Vaikuntha Loka. So this is one verse that always struck me when I first read it. This is near the beginning of the teachings of the 4 Kumaras to Maharaj Prithu in the 4th canto. This is 4th canto, chapter 22, text 23. We're coming up in a few months. We'll be reading this. 10 more chapters. One has to make progress in spiritual life by not associating with persons who are simply interested in sense gratification and making money. Not only such persons, but one who associates with such persons should be avoided. And then here's the money quote right here. One should mold his life in such a way that he cannot live in peace without drinking the nectar of the glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari. One can be thus elevated by being disgusted with the taste for sense enjoyment. 4:22-23. Did you see it? These instructions are really great. This son of Kumar, there's a lot of important stuff. So I love that, cannot live in peace without drinking the nectar of the glorification. This is the sign of great devotees. Prabhupada, he could not live in peace unless he was glorifying or engaging in kirtan. If he had no audience, typing. That's glorification. What is he typing there? purports, translation. So this movement is geared to that. There's ever increasing mountain of books, foundational, which is Srila Prabhupada's books, that we can share with each other. This is a real value of devotee association, where you can share with each other glorification of the Lord and service of the Lord, and encourage each other in Krishna consciousness. So that's what these classes are meant for, and all programs and things, to make have a forum where you chant Hare Krishna, glorify the Lord together, one here, one chant, and then take prasadam, more kirtan. Let's have a festival. It's all, whether it's Ratha Yatra or some other festival, it's all centered on association, hearing and chanting, glorifying, taking prasadam, giving prasadam. 6 loving exchanges. So that's what is described here in the verse we just read, the Bhagavatam. This for one who wants to go to Vaikuntha, back to Godhead. These are some of the prerequisites. Any questions, comments? I'm kind of still in the Vyasa Puja mood. Go ahead.
Thank you for the class. Is this working?
Hare Krishna.
Can you hear me?
Prabhupada.
On the speaker? It's working. So you're just speaking about, kind of extensively about the power of association. And I was just speaking briefly yesterday.
Hold it a little closer.
I was just speaking briefly yesterday with Dravida prabhu about this. But this seems like a very fitting time for me to ask the question, so I'll also ask it to you. So in our success in Krishna consciousness, or our endeavor in Krishna consciousness, I guess maybe you could speak specifically in brahmachari, in relation to brahmachari life. But is our success in Krishna consciousness dependent more, I guess I'm thinking of it in terms of ratio, these 2 main factors, association and personal endeavor. So is it mostly our endeavor and then some association, or is it half our endeavor, half association, or mostly association, part of our endeavor that is?
I don't think you can quantify it like that. That's why it says lava matra sadhu sangha. Even a moment's association with a pure devotee can bring all perfection. Meaning that it can transform the whole direction of your life, and then it leads to more association and more determination for practice. The idea is that you can't get away from it. We're kind of on a battlefield, in material, trying to practice pure devotion in the middle of Kali Yuga, where we are, and not only that, but carrying the burden of our own previous conditioning, right? So everyone has his specific, unique position you're in, but we're all united by our understanding of the need for devotional service, and our commitment, at different levels, but serious commitment to doing those things that are going to move us along the path. That's why it's like a marga. It's a path, bhakti marg. Path means a path of more and more purification and realization, and it can easily be measured. The measure of your advancement is the diminishment of your attraction and attachment to material things, which is not a mystery what those are, and your increased attachment and attraction to serving Krishna and the devotees and everything that goes with it. So, what are the factors that we have that can help us and support us in that endeavor to purify? Basically, you can sum it up with purification of desire. First of all, we have the institution, we have what Srila Prabhupada left us, the books and the deities and the whole institution and everything like that. But each day we have to recommit ourselves to taking advantage of that. And that takes the form of strictness in sadhana, becoming regulated. Because the Maya wants to make you unregulated. I remember many years ago, we're living in New York, and it's the winter times, devotees would get sick, and it became clear at that time that one of the Maya's weapons is some disease that you get, and this is just what happens in the material world, because immediately you become unregulated. Oh, there's no way I can get up. There's no way I can chant my rounds right now, and whatever, it affects you. So you begin to realize how important it is, how fortunate it is if you're able to be regulated in devotional service, just to be there all the time. Then, of course, there's the quality. The quality of your sadhana. Everyone's standing in Mangalarti, but everyone's having a different experience, depending on your state of mind. Somebody's hanging on every word, visualizing it, entering into it, seeing this applies to Prabhupada, my Guru Dev, and others are just kind of showing up. You can be there, but not really be there. So that your consistent awareness and focus of trying to improve your sadhana, not just the quantity but the quality, that comes from association. When you associate with those who are fired up, Prabhupada was the original fired up devotee, and those who were able to associate with him by hearing him and so forth, they got fired up enough to start the chanting, and to become a few lucky ones become committed, and gradually more. So that association of serious devotees makes us serious and makes us more committed. So there's no putting a quantity on it. It can be just a few moments with a really, really serious devotee, and it can change your whole life. I mean, of course, Prabhupada, but today even, that's why these festivals are so nice. Of course, we there's one coming up, and on the weekend, of course, Prabhupada Festival, and we have Rath Yatras in India, where you get together, you kind of break out of your routine, and there's a whole new revelation of, association and experience that can help you break barriers and change your routine so that you're making better advancement. So it's not so cut and dry that you could say what percentage. It's a commitment to get good association, and when we're not, we may be alone on a plane or something. Hey, I'm spending all my time with this, full of words, Srila Prabhupada's words and other, other writings, transcendental writings. I'm associating there, right in the middle of 35,000 feet. Or, it's all the mind. The mind is like a sponge. It associates. What is that verse? What you focus the mind on, that creates your attachment. That's association, sangha. That's why I always point out, sangha has these two main meanings, association and attachment. Because what you associate with, you become attached with. So as human beings, we have a telling, no, I'm not going to associate with that. Even though I have an impulse to that, I have some habit. No, I'm not doing that. I'm going to associate with Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. And because Krishna is so attractive, all attractive, if we just concentrate and pray, prayer is kind of focuses your emotion. Something maybe an idea, but prayer means you're adding your own desire to it. Yes, I want to establish love for Radha and Krishna. Well, I have to pray for that. I want to get rid of this anartha. And you pray for that. And there's so many wonderful examples in the Bhagavatam. This one verse is just a super prayer. This is Queen Kunti. O Madhava, please ever fill my mind with thoughts of thee, not any other kind. As Ganges torrent flows into the sea, let all my love flow constantly to thee. Beautiful prayer, right near the end of her prayers. And before that, she says, please cut off all my attachment to the Vrishnis and the Pandavas, her own sons. Krishna's going back home, the battle is over, things are winding up now. And it's not long after that where Yudhishthira, and Krishna disappears, he goes back, And Pandavas hear about it finally. There's a whole dramatic chapter where Yudhishthira is, where's Arjun? Where's Arjun? He went to Dwarka and he comes back and says, Krishna's gone. And they said, okay, let's wrap it up. After we're fighting all out for the kingdom, I don't know how many years they was actually king. And they said, I need to give up the clothes, just start walking to the Himalayas. It's like a whole thing, everything. They're not even worrying about their wife. Draupadi's trying to follow behind it. So, but those prayers, Queen Kunti, or other prayers, we can adopt them as our own. Perfectly good prayer for all of us. So that, and if you study the Bhagavatam, you're associating with those great devotees. One point Prabhupada says, "Oh, you really thank Narada Muni for appearing in these chapters." You remember that? in these chapters of the Bhagavad, he's appearing there by his instructions. So it's the quality of our intensity of our seeking out and taking advantage of good association will keep us on the straight and narrow. All right, we better go. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Bol.